You are in danger. The following video is a detailed explanation of the message that our Heavenly Father God gave to Rebecca Sterling in 1999. She has now been released to tell what she saw in that vision. Tomorrow's doom and gloom is not the whole story. Please listen through to the end of this video series to hear an encouraging word from our Heavenly Father about how you can be more than an overcomer during these trying times to come.
I am Rebecca Sterling's daughter, Teresa. I wanted to spend a few minutes sharing some background information about my mom and her personal life that led up to this video. My mom has lived through a lot of adventures and a lot of heartache, and she has had big successes and has lived through some tough times. Mom was born in Indiana into a wholesome Midwestern family. Mom learned her hard work ethic from her parents. Granddad was a hard-working carpet salesman that supported a wife and 5 children nicely on a commission-only income. Grandma Alice and Great-Granny Coy were very deep Christians that loved nothing more than a good Bible study and a cup of tea. Mom grew up going to church every time the doors were open and was surrounded by Bible-believing Christians since she was a baby. I remembered her telling us that when she was a young teen, she was baptized at a Christian summer camp. She gave her life to the Lord and promised Him that she would be a missionary and take His word to whatever part of the world He sent her. She just asked that God let her have time to raise a family before He sent her out into the world. At a young age, Mom married her high school sweetheart, and I was born a year later. For the first few years, she was a homemaker and a stay-at-home mom. She continually went to Bible studies and revivals with Grandma and me in tow. I had a pretty normal childhood, and when I turned 15, she gave me a pair of special earrings handed down through the women in her family. She passed along the note with them that said, "Always be a lady, even if it hurts," and it usually does. Mom taught me to work hard, be hospitable, and treat others kindly no matter what is going on around you. Over the years, Mom prayed and asked God when it would be her time to become a missionary, and she often wondered where He would send her. Unfortunately, she was forced to become a single parent and thrust into the workplace. She figured her dream of being a missionary someday was gone. Mom went to work, and with each job, Mom rose to the top, just like Cream. She always volunteered to tackle extra projects and worked her way up the ladder to find great successes over the years. Somehow, she was always taking a never-ending schedule of night college courses to learn as much as she could and be the best in her field. All single parents are tightrope walkers. Mom was good at it and kept a balance of giving attention at home alongside accomplishing great achievements in her career. We had a mixture of years of plenty and years with not so much. But she always made church and Bible study a priority. I learned early on when I watched Mom talk to God as if He were her best friend standing right beside her. Great things happened in our lives. I watched her faith grow and her prayer life have results. Mom documented her answered prayers in journals kept in big 3-ring binders each year. One day, her boss complimented her hard work ethic by telling her that, "Rebecca, you really are a great workhorse, but you were born to be a racehorse and you need to find a bigger, more exciting stable." So, the time came for us to leave the small town in Indiana and move to the big city of Atlanta, Georgia for a better career for Mom. The first day we arrived in town, Mom did not have a job yet, but she had several interviews lined up that week with huge companies located all over Atlanta. All she knew for sure is that she wanted us to have a home near the best high school. We toured the school and surrounding neighborhoods. We knew that the area was known to be expensive, and Mom knew that she had to stick to a tight housing budget of only $500 a month. Amazingly, on the second day we were in town with our U-Haul truck full of our possessions, we were blessed to have found a great apartment inside the school district for exactly $500 a month. On faith, she went ahead and signed a year's lease even before she went on her first interview. The first few interviews were with companies that did not seem to fit. But her last interview of the week was with a great company that offered the best benefits and salary, and, believe it or not, it was located within 1 mile of our new apartment. That was amazing for me as a teenager to see unfold. And over the years, Mom had all sorts of amazing, God-ordained moments that I remember. Mom always shared our money and possessions with people, and not just our family members. No matter who was in need, she wanted to help them and has always been generous. As a kid, I did not quite understand why she was frequently giving away cash or furniture or clothes to strangers, but she would always tell me that possessions come and go. Do not get attached to them. All of this stuff was God's to begin with anyway. It's time for God's money to leave this wallet and go help another family now. Over the years, Mom worked with several large corporations and had great success and earned all sorts of awards and accolades and got to travel the world. I lost count of how many countries she's visited. She earned enough to buy a lovely home on a golf course in Indian Hills in Marietta, Georgia, and we attended Mount Perrin Church for years. But Mom worked very hard for her successes. She hardly ever watched TV, and she would take her briefcase full of reports even to Six Flags and would work at a picnic table while I rode the roller coasters. She traveled back and forth for work from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. each week for years. She was contracted by several private finance companies to write textbooks and training manuals for them. She negotiated huge contracts all over the U.S. and even in South Korea. And as long as I can remember, she has always fallen asleep with a Bible, a concordance, a prayer journal, a dozen other books, and highlighters and pens spread all over her bed. Around 1995, Mom bought a 3-story townhouse on Blackjack Mountain in Marietta, Georgia. It had large windows and pink carpet in every room. One afternoon in 1999, I came over to visit, and I saw that she had made a big pile of stuff outside her back door. I didn't know what it was, and as I went closer to inspect it, I saw that it was actually laid out very carefully and nicely and was a collection of Mom's personal items that were important to her. There were photos of herself over the years, photos of her family members, her Bible, her prayer journal, etc. She said that it was her way of making a spiritual altar before the Lord God, the creator of heaven and earth, that she was dedicating everything about herself to Him again. Mom has always been artsy-craftsy, and making this display was a way for her to visualize giving her all in all to Him. Part of her prayer over her life was to be grateful and thankful for every bit of her life, even if she never got the chance to become a missionary. I did not know it right away, but soon after she rededicated herself to God with her homemade altar, she received a vision from the Lord. She told me that she had awoken from the most shocking, vivid, real-life, detailed dream that she would not ever be able to get it out of her mind. She tried to describe it to me, and tried to communicate to me how it was different than a regular dream. It was more dramatic than current life, more important than anything we could imagine, and not one part of it faded like dreams do. She knew it was some sort of message from the Lord God. She knew that she had to preserve it, even though she did not know what any of it meant. She told me that she stayed awake 24 hours straight and typed non-stop to document all that she had seen. She attempted to explain all that she had saw to me and my husband, and it was hard to grasp. Not just the fact that my mom had possibly received a communication download from the creator of the universe, but the contents of the message were hard to understand. And even after I realized that she saw different scenes from different time periods and different locations, it was easier for me to follow her story, but it was still very hard for us to believe. But we could tell that Mom believed it. She was convinced it was a holy message from a holy God, and now we do too. Immediately after she received this vision, she started living differently. Mom became an even more serious person after the vision. She carefully chose her steps with even more prayer than before. She was more driven to know God deeper, more determined to stay away from sin, more urgent to communicate the seriousness of all our choices as an individual and as a nation. There weren't names or terminology yet in 1999 for all of the wild stuff that she saw in her vision. No words adequate to describe what she felt or heard, but she tried her best to document it. She did not want to ever forget one detail so that she could tell her future grandchildren someday. So she used several ways to document the vision. She typed up the raw notes of what she saw and heard the people say. She made charts and she made timelines of what she thought she understood on big boards. She made notebooks full of pictures and photos that she cut out that looked similar to what she saw. And then she began to make a 3D diorama of characters to help communicate it all. She did not know why, but she had the urge to document it, but not talk about it yet. It took me a while to realize that the vision that Mom had experienced was downloaded to her as if Mom was listening to a lady read her personal diary. Mom says that the lady, named Mary Beth, did not read aloud, but read silently. And as Mary Beth's mind would remember the details of those days written in her diary, Mom was a bystander and could see those memories flash by. That is why most of the diorama scenes are told from the point of view of Mary Beth living through them. You can count on one hand the people that Mom shared the vision with. Not many. Mom knew that Father God did not give her permission yet to tell the details to strangers, but she did feel the urgent need to help others prepare physically for what she saw coming upon the earth in the future. Mom remembered that the main character from the vision kept asking a question, and as Mom thought about it, she did not have an answer. Mom knew that this person in the vision, Mary Beth, was someone who lived far in the future and was lamenting and wishing she could speak to today's Christians. The lady in the vision kept asking, "Why were you all so busy trying to save each other and you never gave us a thought? Why didn't you store up your blankets and food and first aid for us? We may have finally listened to your religious beliefs if you had cared for our physical needs. We could have been converted if you had cared for us, the people living in the future times. Your mission was us, here in tomorrow." So that was it. Mom had finally received her destination for missionary work. Her childhood dream of being a missionary was coming true in a most peculiar way. The people she is to love on and minister to do not live on the other side of the planet. They live here, where we do, but a few years in the future. So Mom's mission field is tomorrow. Mom took this mission seriously and wanted to take steps to walk it out. So, in the year 2000, I went with her to see Judge Linwood Maddox Sr. in Atlanta to seek his advice on how to start a nonprofit organization that could go on for years and serve people living in the future. He was a caring Christian attorney that listened intently and understood her request. He gave us good counsel and direction, and that was the first step of how Mission Field Tomorrow was born. Unfortunately, shortly after receiving this vision message, Mom had a series of terrible health issues. One after another, like dominoes falling or bowling balls being flung at her. It was obvious that the devil was trying to take her out. He wanted her silenced. He wanted her courageous spirit to wither up and die. But the Lord God used these awful circumstances to minister to her, strengthen her, confirm to her that He is real and the message is authentic. Mom went through times of terrible health that included falling down an entire flight of steps and landing on her face, having her abdomen sewn back up with mesh to hold it all together, multiple sclerosis brought on and ramped up so quickly that it took her eyesight away, took away her ability to walk. She had to use walkers and scooters for years. During this time, she lost her job and all of her income. Her health insurance was canceled, and we had to pay cash for shoulder surgeries and neck surgeries and needles into her spine and plugs into her tear ducts and all kinds of crazy stuff for one person to endure. Since she could no longer live alone safely, she came to live with me and my husband. She stayed with us for a few years as she participated in a new experimental treatment for MS that ended up relieving some of her symptoms. Her hands stopped shaking. Her eyesight came back well enough that she could read again. She no longer was confined to sit in a scooter, but walks well enough with a cane now. She felt strong enough to move to her own house again. So she bought a little country house with a great big dining room, and that is where she was able to spread out her diorama, flesh it out, and fill in the missing pieces to make a more complete picture of what she saw in the vision.